On Capitol Hill today, a House hearing on the coronavirus devolved into chaos as Republicans, including hard-right Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, badgered Dr. Anthony Fauci about the COVID vaccines and the origins of the virus. CNN's Lauren Fox has our report.
Dr. Anthony Fauci once again defending his actions and recommendations during the coronavirus pandemic in his first public congressional testimony since he retired in 2022.
We were having people, for reasons that had nothing to do with public health or science, refusing to adhere to public health intervention measures,
as Republicans sought to undermine his credibility.
Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor, you're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes.
Republicans accusing Fauci of trying to downplay a theory that the coronavirus may have originated in a lab, something Fauci adamantly denied.
I did not edit any paper as shown in my official testimony. So you said about 4 or 5 things, Congressman, that were just not true.
Well, we have emails to prove it.
Well, you don't.
Despite intense questioning from Republicans like Congressman Jim Jordan.
Did U.S. tax dollars flow through a grant recipient to the lab in China?
Yes, of course. It was a sub-award to the Wuhan Institute.
And who approved that award? What agency approved that award?
National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
Your agency approved that, right?
Yes, it did. Did
that have anything to do with this downplaying of the lab leak theory?
No.
Nothing to do with it?
Nothing.
What? Do you agree that there was a push to downplay the lab leak theory?
Not on my part.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
I think most of the country would find that amazing. I still got 11 seconds.
But look at the facts. I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process.
During the nearly 4-hour hearing, Republicans seizing on a series of private emails, suggesting some NIH aides may have attempted to bypass public disclosure requirements.
The individuals at the NIH and NIAID are a very committed group of individuals, and this one instance that you point out is an aberrancy and an outlier.
And Republicans questioning some of the key guidance government officials gave in the early days of the pandemic.
While policy decisions should have been based on scientific data, some frankly were not. The burdensome 6-foot social distancing rule did not have sufficient scientific report. In your words, it just sort of appeared.
Democrats sought to defend Fauci, applauding his leadership on the COVID vaccine and defending his right to be addressed as a doctor in the hearing room.
Are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor just because we don't want him to be a doctor?
Yes, because in my time, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in prison.
Suspend.
So that's completely unacceptable to be able to deny Dr. Fauci, who's here, a respected member of the medical community, his title. And that's actually a personal attack on his character.
And I have instructed her.
He's not respected.
And I've instructed her to address him as a doctor.
I'm not addressing him as doctor.
Dr. Fauci, I am so sorry you just had to sit through that. That was completely irresponsible. Quite frankly, we're hearing, this might be the most insane hearing I've actually attended. I've only been in Congress for 1.5 years, but I am so sorry that you are subjected to those level of attacks and insanity.
Lauren Fox, CNN, Capitol Hill.
And our thanks to CNN's Lauren Fox for that report. I want to bring in Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. She attended today's hearing. Congresswoman, thanks for joining us. What was it like inside this hearing? Because you heard Marjorie Taylor Greene refuse to even call Dr. Fauci by his title.
You know, quite frankly, she was one of the worst moments of the hearing. She was disrespectful, repeating misinformation. And she was Marjorie. She wanted to get attention and was doing everything she could to get attention and to cause Dr. Fauci embarrassment. The fact of the matter is, I sat through 14 hours of deposition that the Republicans did. We have looked at, they weren't made public until Friday, while they were months ago. There is no evidence that Dr. Fauci did any of the allegations that have been made. This is a man with a respectful record. A lot of us did not. I mean, what we need to be doing is working together in a bipartisan way so that we're ready for the next pandemic, which is going to come. It's not a matter of if, it's going to be when. And instead, people were taught theatrics and tried to demonizing somebody who has made great contributions to healthcare in this country.
Dr. Fauci, at one point, we all noticed, got choked up answering your questions, Congresswoman, about the death threats to him and his family since the pandemic. Let's watch this clip.
There have been credible death threats leading to the arrests of 2 individuals, and credible death threats means someone who clearly was on their way to kill me. And it's required my having protective services essentially all the time. It is very troublesome to me. It is much more troublesome because they've involved my wife and my 3 daughters.
At these moments, how do you feel? Keep your mic on.
Terrible.
Do you continue to receive threats today?
Yes, I do.
So, Congresswoman, did Republicans put Dr. Fauci at even more risk today by publicly blasting his credibility?
I'm certain that they did. And, you know, we got to take this further. Well, what I'm concerned about is how people don't trust public health at the local level, at the state level, and the national level. People don't want to go into public health. They're afraid of it. They're afraid of the tax, the hate, the division that's out there. And yet it is public health that keeps us safe. And, you know, when COVID started, we didn't have a lot of answers. We're investigating a lot of things. I want to make it clear, Dr. Fauci told me back then, and has over the course of these years, always said, we don't know where it came from. He was open to a lab leak, could have come from animals. It was the Trump administration that didn't push China to let us in when we should have been allowed in that country to figure out what was going to happen. Public health matters to all of us. You know, we almost eradicated smallpox, polio, measles. Now we have measles in Michigan because people won't get immunized. People's lack of trust in public health officials is scary and threatening to this country.
Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, thanks very much for joining us. And just ahead, Israel reveals the deaths of 4 more hostages in Gaza amid an uproar over a potential ceasefire deal. We have details right after a quick break.